Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of our Raw Reaction series, and specifically the Arsenal news show, joining you every day at 9. How many times have I done this show? At 8 a.m. every single day. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing good. Let's jump into the chat box, see who we've got. We've got AFC West Mids. We've got Olo. We've got Harvey. Nice try. We've got Sarvik. Not you, Harvey. Adam, good morning to you. Bobby, Jose, Omar, Martin, Omar, Stevie, GGT for you. Afsar. We've got Runs of Cows. We've got Scotty. We've got Stephen, we've got Paul, we've got Jonathan, Vlad. Who else have we got? Scotty. And I think we've got a brand new member in the chat box as well, Joe Barnsdale. Thank you so much, mate, for coming on the show and joining the TGT family. I'm sure plenty of you will give you a very warm welcome, and thank you for the continued support, mates. Lovely stuff. Good morning to Liam, to Austin, to Girish. Good morning to you, to Bobby, as well as always, Stefan and Trevor. Good morning, everybody. Let's see what we're going to get into today. Kai, you did indeed make a live show. Well done to you, mate. Well done to you. Let's jump into the show, basically. If you haven't seen it already, yesterday I spoke to, or the day before yesterday, I spoke to Emmanuel Petit. The video of that interview is now up on the Arsenal Way. So the link to the Arsenal Way is in the description if you want to go and give that a watch. We talked about Lacazette and Partey and Saliba and how Arteta has improved the squad as well. And I don't think Petit's ever kind of held back on his views about Arsenal in the past, and he didn't yesterday either. So do make sure you give that a watch. Really interesting insight into kind of where Petit's head is at regarding Arsenal. So you can give that a watch on the Arsenal Way. Moving forwards, though, and our first story is the fantastic kind of comeback, if you like. I would have rather we won, obviously, for obvious reasons, but you know, when we went 1-0 down to Wolfsburg last night, to come up with an 89th equaliser from Lotte Wooden-Moy, it was a really solid finish as well from a centre half, when you consider the fact that I'm not sure whether or not Tobin Heath's free kick was intentional or not. It was very much dragged far left. I'd love to think it was intentional and it was well done, but it just, the strike looked like she was shooting low and just messed it up. But Wooden-Moy got on the end of it and finished fantastically. And, you know, fingers crossed we can get the girls into the semi-finals. It's going to be tough whatever happens, because Wolfsburg are a very, very good side. But we're hoping that they can do it in Germany. So well done, girls, and best of luck for the next round. Moving to the men's team, and Bukayo Saka has been inside for what seems like a couple of days, ill. He hasn't returned yet a positive test back yet. There's no diagnosis to what the issue actually is right now, but he has spent a certain amount of time now in his hotel room, not training with the England team because he is ill. We wish him obviously the absolute best and hope he recovers very quickly, but it's unlikely now that he would be involved in the Switzerland game, I believe, that comes up first on Friday or Saturday. So we'll have to wait for that, and wish him the absolute best in getting back and playing with the first team. Continuing with Arsenal's players that are currently away with their national sides, William Saliba has taken the opportunity to do an interview, which he spoke to RMC Sports, and he said, "I never hid the fact I felt good here. I don't know my future. There are 2 months left. The most important thing is to qualify for the Champions League and go as far as possible in the Conference League. I think there will be discussions afterwards at the end of May, beginning of June with Arsenal and Marseille. We will decide at that time." These are the words of someone that's very open to staying in Marseille. That is clearly the case. What I would say is that plenty of players have gone on loan, spoken like this about the club that they're at, because they want to say they feel good there, they want to say they feel happy there, and then they return and flourish at their parent club after they've given them those guarantees. And that's something that Petit spoke about yesterday with me, is that it's the guarantee of playing time that Saliba will need. And, you know, I'm concerned. These are certainly concerning kind of quotes, but as far as we were aware previously, the intention was for him to come back and fight for his place. We're going to have to wait and see what happens. I think it's going to be a huge challenge for Mikel Arteta to convince him to remain, but we have all the control. 2 years left on his deal. He can't force a move out, and if he does, you know, Arsenal are going to be asking for a significant amount of money, having invested nearly £30 million in him. So we'll see how this one goes, but it's not what you want to hear. What I would say is that he was asked about Arsenal congratulating him on his French call-up, and he said that it was nice to get those messages. So, he is very well aware of the fact that Arsenal are in contact. They remain in contact. Edu and Ben Ganapa, who is the loans officer, have continued to keep in contact with him. And, he knows that Arsenal have been monitoring his progress this entire time. So there is some encouragement, but these words are always going to, create a little bit of a concern. Now, this is a new one on me, very much so. Bruno Iglesias, who is an interesting young attacking midfielder playing in the Real Madrid Youth Academy, described as the next Saka. Arsenal have been credited with an interest in Iglesias. I'm not sure how real the interest is or how far along it would be from Arsenal moving for him, but you'd imagine if Real Madrid's kind of central three midfielders of Kroos and Casemiro and Modric are moving towards the latter stages of their career, they'd want to be, keeping their young 19-year-old attacking talents from their academy and bringing them through. But Arsenal are said to have an interest in Iglesias. I have no idea about anything of what he's done. It is purely a name that's popped up for me. We'll see if anything else comes from this. I giggle because, again, it's a strange link because I've never seen or heard anything about him. So it's going to be one to follow, or maybe one to do a little bit more research on. JM says, when are you doing the next loan player updates? They're at the end of the month, start of next month. So probably the second week of the international break, you'll be getting the look at Saliba and the youth team and Balogun as well. So I look forward to bringing you that next week. Let's go into our next story. If the actual slideshow will move for me. Let's go to Noah Lang. Now, Noah Lang, we reported yesterday the reports that were coming out suggesting that AC Milan would be competing with Arsenal for his signature. Well, yesterday, further reports came out discussing his possible price tag and that Club Brugge would be accepting a figure, a straight-up figure in the region of 20 million euros, which is only about 16 million pounds. So that figure would rise to closer to 25, 30 million euros with bonuses and add-ons and, things like that, depending on what Lang achieved at the club. But a 60 million pound fee for a player as highly rated as Lang would certainly be something that would interest Arsenal, you would imagine. And that's a really solid bit of investment if they chose to do it. I had a really good chat with Josh Williams yesterday on the Arsenal way, looking at wide forwards and kind of the top three wide forwards that we would look to bring in. Noah Lang didn't feature on either of our lists. If you want to find out who we did pick, go and give that a watch over on the Arsenal way. But 20 million euros, 16 million pound flat fee, which could then rise to 25 to 30 million euros with additional add-ons. Seems a bit of a bargain for whoever gets him. And lastly, in terms of transfer news, Darwin Nunez. We all know very much more about Darwin Nunez now, having been linked to him for some time. But it was said yesterday, according to Fabrizio Romano, that Arsenal have now kind of stepped up this interest. There are discussions with the representatives. He's been solidly added to their list of players. Arsenal wanted to get a feel of kind of the numbers around the player and what it might take to bring him in. Look, he's a very, very solid striker. And closer to the window opening, we will be doing a tactical breakdown. Of course, I will be holding off for the moment because I want to get as maximum data as possible between now and the end of the season. And that's when you can imagine the transfer tactical breakdowns will be returning is at the end of the season so that we've got all of the possible data from 21-22. But Arsenal are said to have stepped up their interest in Darwin Nunez and could be a player that Arsenal look to bring in the summer as their number one striker. And that does include all of the news from today. So it means we move on to our Q&A section. So if you've got any questions, throw them into the chat box and we'll try and get us through as many as feasibly possible. Let's go. Okay, then, let's see what questions we've got thrown in. We've also got to come up with our poll question for today, which I already have an idea about what I want to ask. So let's throw the poll into the chat box for today, and you guys can get voting. This is going to be specifically a question surrounding the kind of strikers that Arsenal should be looking for in the summer. As I say, myself and Josh Williams over on the Arsenal Way did a really good chat about wide forwards, and that's what I want to ask you. So, would you rather, is the start of the question, which is never a good way to start a question these days, bring in two orthodox strikers, as in, players that are akin to playing and comfortable playing in a striker position as their primary, or one striker and one wide forward who has the capacity to kind of play and be versatile. So one versatile wide forward, but kind of someone like a Cody Gakpo, for instance, someone like I think Gabriel Martinelli, you would argue, is kind of one of these versatile wide forwards that could possibly play in a central role as well. So there's your question. We've got the first option, which is 2 strikers, or the second option, which is 1 striker and 1 wide forward. So there's your 2 options. Here's your poll. It goes into the chat box. I see that Clive's in there already. I wonder what he's going to vote for. I wonder indeed what he's going to go for. This is obviously, let's say it's with the caveat that Lacazette is also going to be going. So let's see if that changes your mind in any way. Let's go and have a look through the questions that are flooding into the chat box, and make sure you hit the likes. As Harvey says, we've only got 48 of you so far. There's nearly 400 of you watching. Do drop a like on the video after you've pressed an answer on that poll. Olu says, hey Tom, Barcelona are set to sign Kessié, which means De Jong will be available. Why would it mean he's available? Will they not just play Kessié next to De Jong? Is that not something they can do? Would they not do that? Sergio Busquets is coming to the end of his time with the club. Why would they not just play them both together? I'm not sure if they would. I see what you're saying. Barca's wage allowance for next year is 120 million, but they can move other players. On Memphis Depay, you'd imagine, would probably be moving on. He's not done that well since going there, so we'll have to wait and see. Pinoween says, what's your opinion on the leaked black away kit? If you've seen it, I have seen the training top that was leaked, which apparently hinted towards the Arsenal away kit. Let's have a look if I can find it. 21-22 leaked. Let's have a look to see if it's been found. Hold on, 21-22. I want 22-23. That's what we want to know. I've only seen the... Oh, here we go. Info leaked. So that's, yeah, it's just the training jacket that's been released so far. If it is true, then I'm absolutely getting it. Like a black and gold Arsenal kit is like, that's perfect. That's like the perfect level of away kit that I want to see at Arsenal. Black and gold is the one for any kind of a kit. Ayas says, seeing how good Balogun's progress is so far, we could let go of Laka and place Balogun as a backup striker after Darwin. Is Flo a good second option? I think that this is certainly something, so we went down the route of signing a striker and a wide forward, it opens up a pathway much wider anyway for Balogun to kind of go through than it would, say, if you sign 2 more orthodox strikers. Let's have a quick check on the poll. 109 of you have voted. Still very tight. 49% of you say 2 strikers. 51% of you saying a striker and a wide forward, although that has now dropped down to 50-50. So the 2 strikers is starting to come back. So let's see what you guys finish off the show on. So drop a vote on that poll if you haven't done so already. And make sure you hit the like button as well to show your support to the channel. Let's scroll and find some more questions. GG2FU says, I feel Noah Lang is ahead of his time. His work rate and footballing brain is excellent. He would make a good addition to the team. The issue is kind of, the behind the scenes stuff. There's been some questions about what happens behind the scenes, and I can't comment on specifics, but there's been rumors of alleged issues from an attitude standpoint. So that's certainly something that we'd need to look into and know that that's not going to be a problem. Paddy says, hi Tom, we will only get a wide forward if we sell Pepe. I kind of agree with you, Paddy. I think that that's certainly something that could come into effect. Although, that being said, if Lacazette does move on and Ketia does move on, there is scope that maybe we would still be open to signing kind of a player that's versatile enough to play in a wide area without selling Pepe. I think Reece Nelson would certainly have to be moved on again, that's for sure. Christopher Martin says, not a question, Tom, but potentially Martinelli and Smith Rowe could play up front. So 1 striker and 1 wide forward for me. I know a lot of people feel this way about Martinelli, and some people feel it about Smith Rowe. I personally don't. I like Martinelli in a wide position. I like him on the ball more, and I just don't think he gets the ball anywhere near as much when he plays in a central role. And the same goes for Smith Rowe as well. Juni says, Tom, Victor Osimhen should be the first priority. He is physically and technically so solid with pace. He's a number 9 that could make something out of nothing. Very coachable and a student of the game. I know that Bailey is a big fan of Victor Osimhen. I'm personally more of a fan of Patrick Schick over the two, who isn't slow. Some people tweeted me yesterday saying Schick is slow. He used to play on the wing and has been playing in a very speedy position for plenty of time. He's not rapid by any means, but Schick is far from slow. So I would encourage people to go and watch a game of Bayer Leverkusen's before describing Schick as slow. We've got Paul who says we've got loads of wide players. We need two strikers, especially if we move on Lacazette and Nketiah. Hilmi has probably got a question that Manu will be able to answer in the chat box. Is Charles de Ketelaere a wide forward? I'm sure Manu will come up with an answer for you in the chat box. Knows much more about him than I do. Z says, who are we replacing Xhaka with? It's a really good question because it's a really difficult question to answer. Finding someone that upgrades on Xhaka is not easy. And some people might scoff at that and think, are you mad? It's Granit Xhaka. But let's be real. Xhaka has been a very solid central midfielder for us for the last 2 seasons. Yes, he's not without his mistakes. But finding someone who is a significant upgrade and consistent is tricky. Xhaka's been better than Tielemans this season. Xhaka's been better than Ruben Neves this season. It's going to be hard to find someone. I like those two players, don't get me wrong. But they're not guaranteed upgrades on Xhaka as soon as they come into the team. They could be, but they're not guaranteed to be, and that's a credit to how good Xhaka has been. Fabian Ruiz is my pick. No, he's not the most popular one, but I really like the Spanish midfielder. Sarvik says, what's the price tag we'd slap on Reece Nelson with the English tax? Well, he's only got a year left on his deal. I think you'd be lucky to get over 10 million quid, if I'm honest. So let's see what happens in the summer. I think we'd be lucky to get anything in the end. Adam says, do you consider Balogun as a proper striker or a versatile wide forward? I tend to lean towards the latter. The thing about Balogun is that whilst I think he sees himself more as a central striker, he's been used slightly off of centre, both for the youth team and for Middlesbrough. Chris Wilder has used him slightly off to the left, and he likes to cut inside on his right foot. And he's done that with Mika Biereth in the youth team. So there is scope. He played it, of course, if you remember, against Sunderland too. He played on the left-hand side as well. So there's scope that Balogun could be more of a wide forward for us, but I still think that he probably sees himself as an out-and-out number 9, and I would like to see Balogun more in an out-and-out number 9 position. Bulgarian Gooner says, are we underestimating Nelson? Arteta did give him minutes in his early days. He did indeed. I just don't think Nelson's taken his chances and just isn't clinical enough with his final ball and his final shot in the final third. So I'm not sure Nelson will be one to make it at Arsenal, but there's no denying that the kid has talent. That is for sure. Dan says, Tom, have you done your missing 11? Who are you? Yeah, no, I've not. And it'll probably be one for the second week of the international break, as is kind of the rest of the inventive content that's coming up. Franklin says, Tom, why don't we go for a top 9 and get in a Jovic on loan with a buy option? I see what you mean. Go for a massive marquee, world-class, super expensive striker and then try to bring in a Luka Jovic style. I'm not sure Real Madrid would let him go on loan anymore. I think if they're going to let him go, they would want to sell him. It doesn't make any sense for them to let him go on loan for another season, diminishing his value because his contract would be running down. They would want to sell him. So I'm not sure you'll be able to get him on loan, to be honest. Penny Ween says, could we not buy just one striker and convert Smith Rowe or Martinelli? Again, I think this is something that you can look to do with a wide forward that you bring in. I like Smith Rowe and Martinelli in a wide area. I think it's what's seen them flourish the most at Arsenal. And I think Arteta's kind of nailed that down as their best position. So I wouldn't personally. Manu says, I've only seen 90 mins of Matt Turner, so I can't make a judgment. Did we bring him in for PR or is he the real deal? Well, speaking to Sophie from the Highbury squad, she certainly ensures me that he's the real deal. Very impressed with what he's done with the US men's national team. He's keeping Zach Steffen out of the team, who very much people know from Manchester City. I think he's being brought in because he's highly rated. I think there is a link to the MLS that Arsenal need to be more aware of. We need to utilize that market better because there is talent out there and there are teams that are able to get that talent that we've so far ignored or just not been, or we've been a little bit naive to not consider it. I don't think it's PR. I think Matt Turner is going to be a solid keeper from all intents and purposes and everything that I've heard about him as well. Valverde, Christopher, I think you're living in dreamland if you think Real Madrid would let go of him. Raf says, Schick bias. What about his injuries? Renato Sanchez Osimhen has shown he can score in 2 of the top leagues and league Schick struggled in. Osimhen. See, I hate this. I hate this kind of looking back. Like, if a player finds his groove, finds his situation, finds that next step up in his career, why are we judging them based on what they did 2-3 years ago? I want to judge them on the here and now. I want to judge them what they're capable of doing and what they're achieving right now. And Osimhen, you want to talk about injuries? I mean, there's not much between the two in terms of injuries throughout the last 3 years, Raf. So I don't think you can use injuries to try and justify one over the other in that case. Philip says, is a transfer for Basuma dead? And if not, is he what we need now with Partey playing deeper? Basuma's situation is really unknown to me. I don't know what's going on with the alleged allegations. So I don't know, but it's gone very quiet on that front for sure. Christopher says, hopefully Nelson continues getting games at Feyenoord. I think he started his last 4 games. He also scored the other day in the UEFA Conference League, so that's also good. DN, though, saying that Matt Turner is dreadful. I've heard very, very different things. Axel says, to be 100% truthfully, I have not watched any of our striker targets enough. I think the profile of them all are interesting. It's a matter of preference. We should not underestimate them. I tell you what, Axel, the amount of conversations I've had with people that have said, we have to get Nunez, or we have to get Osimhen, or we have to get Schick, or we have to get whatever striker. And I say, how many of their games have you genuinely watched? And they fire back their goal statistics. And I'm like, how can you be this passionate about someone that you want us to sign without watching them? And then what you often see is, if I ever say this, how many games have you watched? The retort is often, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if I've watched him. That's a 12-year-old argument someone said to me the other day, asking them if they've watched them play. Why is it? Why is it such a critique to ask you if you've watched enough of that person? How can you be so passionate about bringing in a player without having watched them? I'm quite lucky that I've got access to Wirescout, and I pay for that privilege to have Wirescout, which allows me to watch plenty of players just, at a whim, and watch every goal they've scored, every touch they've had, every interception, every tackle, every yellow card they've ever received, every pressure, every recovery, every loss of the ball, every aerial duel. It's a really good tool. And it's certainly something that I invest in with the help that the channel has provided to be able to watch plenty of these players. But I find it so odd. I find it so weird that people get so passionate about certain players that they've barely seen anything of. They might have seen a game in the Champions League or a couple of games that are on telly, but have you really watched them? Have you really watched them? And then they're like, no, it's the wrong player. I'm like, have you really seen them play? So there you go. JDB says, Tom, I genuinely love your daily dose of videos, but your headlines genuinely raise my blood pressure, like when you said Gabriel will miss the Liverpool game. Hopefully Bukai as well. That Gabriel doubt video was all about the reports coming from, I believe it was, I saw something on Twitter from a verified account that said about his wife is currently, expecting, and he wasn't spotted in training. So that's where it came from. But we just report the news, mate. We report what others are reporting, and if we hear anything on the sides, then we also talk about it. But you do what you do. You do what you do. Vlad says, are we overlooking options like Calvert-Lewin perhaps? Last summer, no one would have predicted Ramsdale and his success, since Calvert-Lewin would sort of feel like that kind of signing in the summer if it happened. Look, I think that Calvert-Lewin, his stock has fallen significantly, which opens up a couple of options. Do you go for Calvert-Lewin and think that you're going to be able to restart his career at Arsenal and kind of, give him a leash of life, if you like, and get him at a price that could be significantly less than what we would ever paid for Calvert-Lewin? And it's a bit of a risk. Do you take that risk? It's really difficult, because he could come to Arsenal and struggle. He could come to Arsenal and not work. So it's tricky. But I think it's a solid debate to be had. That is for sure. Don't sleep on DCL, says Clive. And yeah, I think it's a solid argument to say this could be a really good time to take the plunge on Calvert-Lewin because of Everton's situation and get a really opportunistic deal for him, and then we'll wait and see what happens. Let's scroll up a little bit more. MC says, hi, Tom. What is your thoughts on actor Koglu? He's a winger at Galatasaray. I'm really sorry if I've butchered that name. Yeah, my colleague Chris Davison was writing a piece about him, and when he said he was writing a piece about him, I said, I have no idea who this is. I know nothing about I'm going to try this again. Actor Koglu. I'm sure there's a softer sound that you have to say in there. Let's have a quick look at this guy on Transfermarkt. Let's have a look at his stats this season. 23 years of age. 8 goals, 5 assists in the league, 11 goals, 9 assists across all competitions. It's impressive, but I can't say that I've seen him. So I have no idea, mate. I have no idea anything about him at all. But if like some of our Turkish listeners might be able to give us some more information on how good he is. Where is the love for Guiri? Actually, if you watch my video that I did yesterday with Josh, I use Guiri in my lists of players that I would sign in that area. So there you go. Thank you, Mafia Boss. Really appreciate and thank you for listening and tuning in, and thank you for the donation. That's really, really kind of you. Isoa says, can Haller do a job at Arsenal? I'm going to sound like the biggest hypocrite, right? Because I've just gone for Raf about talking about previous seasons. The only reason why I'm willing to sit and say that you look at a previous seasons because at West Ham it didn't work, and that's in the Premier League. It just didn't work for Sebastian Haller, and he's gone to the Eredivisie, which is very different to the Bundesliga with Bayer Leverkusen and Schick. There is a big difference between the two, okay? So I'm not being a total hypocrite, but I just wouldn't go the plunge on Haller because of the issues that he faced in the Premier League and how he struggled with the Premier League. So, and it wasn't exactly for a bad West Ham side either. So I think I've probably got away with that. Probably got away with that one. Udbav says DCL would be good. We need 2 strikers as well, and he could be available at a discount. Deep 11 says Tom Xhaka has never won Arsenal's Player of the Month award. Should we show him some love this time around? Look, the Player of the Month award is not about showing love to a player. It's about voting for the player that's been the best. And the player that's been the best is Thomas Partey, without a shadow of a doubt. So there you go. Fung Man says, wow, Tom's YouTube skills have leveled up. I remember when he wasn't using polls in the live vids. Yeah, look, I can only give Harry Simeon credit for that. He showed me how to do it. Yes, Tom the hypocrite. Tom the hypocrite, indeed. Ruben says, mark my words, Isaac is everything we need, and I think he's the one that we'll get. A lot of people seem to write him off. Ignore the 4 goals. He'll explode. I can't ignore them. I can't ignore the 4 goals, Ruben. It's just something holding me back about seeing 4 goals and £74 million. I can't get my head around those 2 things to invest in someone like that. I'm just not sure. If you could get him for significantly less than that, then we can talk, because I think there's potential there. But £75 million for a player that scored 4 goals in La Liga this season, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Jay and Bene says, Tom, are you taking Rashford and DCL? Look, again, I had a really good chat yesterday with Josh about Rashford and about how people have written him off and about he's playing in an awful Man United team and the fact that he's got over 100 goal contributions from the ages of 20 to 23. And I think he's being slept on, and I think he's being disrespected by a lot of Premier League fans. Do not get it twisted. Marcus Rashford is a top footballing talent that is being wasted at Manchester United. Absolutely wasted. Go and have a look at his goal record and his assist record for the last 3 seasons. This one has been poor. I don't know what it is. He's just disinterested. Ronaldo's taken off all the kind of the attention, like we saw with Greenwood before his issues, not his issues. He's an idiot. But before his whatever bloody happened, and you think about what Rashford's potential could be, and what he could deliver in this Arsenal team. And I think to write him off is a bit naive. As I say, go and have a look at the goal record. Go and have a look at him playing during his best seasons, which is, not this season, but the 3 seasons before that. His crime. Thank you, Jonathan. Yes, that's the right word I was looking for. Greenwood's crime. You look at the seasons before that. It's mad. It's mad what he achieved. And it's just, I find it crazy how he's so written off so quickly. Like, nope, not good enough. Doesn't get in the team. He's another Welbeck. I saw people describing him as a Welbeck. How embarrassing. With respect to Welbeck, I'm sorry, but Rashford is levels above Danny Welbeck. Absolute levels above him. So would I be happy if we signed Rashford? 100%. 100%. He's a quality footballer, and I think would flourish in this Arsenal team. And look, this comment that says Salah flopped at Chelsea. Let me find it. Just spit off my scene. Alf. He's not even flopped at United. He's done ridiculous things at United. He's dragged United in certain seasons back into Champions League football. You know, he's hardly been a flop. This season he's been disappointing, don't get me wrong. But goodness me, go and watch Rashford play from the ages of 20 to 23. He's 24 now, and this season's not been his best. But wow, what a player. People are misunderstanding, that is for sure. Gunnar goals in so-called lesser leagues. Why do they count so much? It's not the Prem. I think you have to be, I think that you have to look beyond a player's. If you're looking at a player that's playing in the Bundesliga or La Liga or Liga or the Eredivisie or whatever, go and watch them. Don't just look at their goal record and say, it's the Bundesliga, it's La Liga, it's Liga, it's the Eredivisie, it's the Portuguese league. What's the point? It's so ignorant and naive of a player to just discredit or just discard them because of the league they play in. The Premier League is as successful as it is because of foreign talent, because of the talent that it brings in to the Premier League. You know, England have really suffered in the course of, say, through the late 2000s, early 2010s, up until the point now where we're finding a golden generation. And you could argue that it suffered because Premier League sides were investing heavily in foreign talent, and the pathway for English players to develop and reach the heights that we see they are now wasn't anywhere near as high as it is during this current period and has been for the last, say, half decade. And so to discredit other leagues after our team has found such stars and some of the best players that we've ever bought at Arsenal have come from different leagues. Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira, Dennis Bergkamp. And the thing is, Dennis Bergkamp wasn't exactly flourishing at Inter Milan when we bought him. Thierry Henry wasn't flourishing at Juventus when we bought him. And yet people so naively just rule out players because of the league they play for. Go and watch them. Go and watch the players and go and actually see their ability, see their individual talent. Deep 11 making a great point. Luis Diaz came in from Portugal and hasn't had absolutely no problem in adjusting to the Premier League at all, whatsoever. It's such a frustrating argument. I can have discussions about systems. You can have discussions about, say, Nicolas Pepe, for instance, who played in a Lille side that played in a completely different system to what Arsenal were playing at the time. And that's why I think he struggled. But Pepe's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. He's just suited to playing a certain way. I think he could flourish in a different Premier League team, not just when people say he's not worked in the Premier League. No, he's not worked at Arsenal. Put him into another team that will give him what he needs and he will flourish. But be naive and think about leagues so binary is just the wrong way to go about it. So I saw it yesterday with Darwin Nunez and people talking about him in the Portuguese league. Go and watch him play, for goodness sake. Go and actually see the guy play. It's mad. So, yeah, Delt says Suarez being doubted came in from Ajax. Look at what he did. Madness. It's absolute madness. Anyway, we're going to wrap things up there, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show. And Gunnar, hopefully I've answered your point because you raised a very good one. We will see you. I said I might do a show this afternoon. I might do another discussion show. As I said, we're going to do loan updates. We're going to do Balogun. We're going to do Saliba next week. We're going to do the youth update next week as well when we reach April. I can't believe it's already April. It's mad. 2022 is already flowing through so quickly. Thank you to all of the support in the chat box as always. Oh, the poll. Yes, thank you for reminding me. This is why you're absolute legends, because you remind me of things. The poll finished on, wow, the votes are going up quickly because I've not checked it in so long. Over 300 of you have voted. 53% of you saying one striker and one wide forward. 47% going for two strikers. Very split. One for a greater discussion. Certainly needs to be. Clive, we need to link up. Tell me if you've got any spare time, mate, because I know the listeners always appreciate when you come on the show. And we can chat about transfers. So hit me up, mate. I will see you tomorrow morning, if not this afternoon. And do check us out on the Arsenal Way, 9:30 a.m. show. Go listen back to my chat with Emmanuel Petit, which came out on the channel yesterday evening. But it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you guys, as it always is. And as always, up the Arsenal.